Ladies and gentlemen, let us move on to our next technical session. In this session, let us understand from the speaker case studies on IT and ITES. To share knowledge in this session, we have an eminent speaker, CA Prasad. May I request CA Ajay Malik to escort the speaker onto dais. And also welcome him to the floor. Okay. Please welcome the speaker. Please welcome the speaker. Thank you, Ajay. Friends, it is my pleasure to introduce the speaker to this august gathering. CA Prasad is a practicing chartered accountant and an information system auditor and is partner of Messrs. Prasad and Prasad Chartered Accountants, Hyderabad. He is the past chairman of Hyderabad branch of ICAI. CA Prasad has co-authored a book titled International Taxation, a basic study published by Book Corporation, Kolkata. He was appointed as one of the branch reporter for IFA Congress 2010 that was held at Rome, Italy on the subject Tax Treaties and Tax Avoidance, Application of Anti-Avoidance Provisions. He was chairman of All India Federation of Tax Practitioners, South Zone for the term 2010 and 11. CA Prasad was co-opted member of the Committee on International Taxation of the ICAI for the year 2016-17. He was invited to speak at IFA Asia Africa Conference held in Mauritius in May 2012, May 2014 and May 2016 too. He is a co-opted member of Committee on International Taxation of the ICAI for the year 2018 and 19. Currently he is the Vice Chairman of IFA India branch till 2020. He was invited as a panelist of Asia Pacific Regional Conference 2016 held in Seoul, South Korea in May 2016. With this brief introduction, I present CA Prasad before you. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome once again CA Prasad.
Mr. Shetty, my good friend Chaitanya, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to be here this morning to participate in this workshop on transfer pricing. Almost 2 months back, I think Lataji from your branch contacted me stating that there is a workshop and they have invited me and then I readily accepted. So it's a great opportunity meeting all of you. And anyhow, transfer pricing as the foundation is laid by our good friend Mr. Chaitanya. So there's a lot of litigation in India, and when we go to the international conferences, we keep hearing that the maximum litigation is happening in India and nowhere else in this magnitude. We do have cases coming from the international courts, other courts of other countries, but the amount of litigation we have, especially before the tribunal, is mind-boggling. And if we go into the statistics, say in 3 months' time you have around 400 cases being decided like that. So this is what is happening. And the subject assigned to me is IT and ITES. The whole idea is to make it a case study model as rightly done by the branch. So as this is an advanced level course on transfer pricing, we need to go into the real practical aspects of what we encounter when we present a claims case before the transfer pricing officer. So always the atmosphere what we still have the transfer pricing authorities is very aggressive, because just because they have power in hand and they have something to do, something to show off that they made some adjustments and tax collection, this has become a very very important tool in their hands to make tax collections. Unfortunately, sometimes good sense is prevailing at the top level, not in the exactly field level. As we have seen some time back, the Vodafone case and Shell case, if I am not wrong, it is not contested before the Supreme Court. That time when the new government came and with reference to this capital infusion by the foreign enterprises into the Indian associated enterprise, where there was a contest and all. I think it was Vodafone 3 or 4, I don't remember. So that approach is rarely seen. But be that as it may, we have to get along and we have to equip ourselves with what we need to present and how we need to protect our case and how well we have to organize ourselves. So all these are very important. In fact, setting up the transfer pricing policy is also taken up by most of the large corporations well in advance, looking at their business plans and all that. So in that scenario, IT and ITS, as you know, Hyderabad is also a very prominent place for IT and ITS sector, and we have a lot of litigation there happening on so many issues. So I have drafted 4 case studies. I tried to run through all the 4 case studies, and in this particular presentation I have given my suggestions, which are not final, and the probable solutions are not conclusive, but they are all based on some case law which we had. It's a live issue, so all the 4 case studies are the live issues. And fortunately, I think I have my cases which I argued before the Hyderabad tribunal, or also, the same issues are covered in our cases also. So this will help you understand better what are the issues for IT and ITS. So here in the first case study, you have already gone through. I think this is already circulated to all of you. A Limited is a simple captive service provider to B Inc. of USA, doing some software services, and it serves only its parent and nobody else, and it doesn't carry any risk. When you are serving your parent, there is no risk. There is no marketing risk, there is no collection risk. What do you mean by marketing risk? You don't need to go into the market and search for the customers, wherein you spend a lot of money not knowing whether you would end up getting a customer or not. So that risk is not there. From the day when you have a business coming from your parent, in the same way, when you do your service, there is no uncertainty in realizing your collections. Whatever service you render, the collection, it has been always there. So when there is a risk-free service provider, the profile what it has is not the same what you have in the open market. The open market enterprises have to compete with so many other market players, and they need to put in a lot of marketing efforts to get customers. After serving them and raising the bills, there is a collection risk, there is a credit risk, and there is always a manpower risk. There are so many other things which are normally faced by a player who is in the open market and impacted by all the open market conditions. Unlike a person of this type, A Limited, which is doing only for its parent company. So as the facts go on, A Limited is following a cost plus model, that is called, you capture all the cost. Suppose you have 100 rupees cost, you add up another 15% and collect it from your parent. Okay. So this is the model going on. So what has happened, it has got a small turnover of around 50 crores. And the TPO made an adjustment, taking what is the average of the industry, IT or the ITS, whatever it is. ITES average is different, IT is different. This is an IT services company. It has arrived at a arm's length margin of say 29% to 30%, as against what this A Limited has declared as 15%. So what are the observations made by the TPO or the contentious issues we have before various benches of the tribunal? TPOs have a trend to compare your activity with high-end activity. Suppose you are doing a simple computer services, you might be compared with a KPO, knowledge process outsourcing services, so which is economically not justified. What is the basic principle of transfer pricing? An apple must be compared with an apple, orange must be compared with an orange. You can't compare an apple with an orange. So any sort of difference in the profile that must be adjusted, otherwise it is not fit for comparison. So what is happening? They tend to pick up companies with large turnovers and high profiles and high-end services and try to slap an adjustment. That is what is happening in most of the cases. That has been the trend almost from last 6, 7, 8 years, which is not taken a receipt till now. TPO opines that turnover has no significance in benchmarking analysis. Suppose you are a 50 crore company, can you be benchmarked with the 24,000 or 25,000 turnover of Infosys or large turnover recorded by Wipro or Tata Elxsi? That is what is happening. So the turnover filter or the size is not being considered. That is very simple. You ask anyone, you say, you can't compare yourself with a large organization because their bargaining power, their brand value, everything would be different. You can't compete with them. So that basic point is missing out, and that is what they keep on doing even till today. And what I have explained in the beginning, you are a captive service provider with the least risk. Except manpower risk, you don't have other risks. Or the compliance risk with reference to the government regulations and all that. Except that you don't have the risk of collection, you don't have the risk of market, all these things are not there. But they readily pick up enterprises which are open for all risks and compare them with a captive service provider without any adjustments. So unless you make adjustments and make them comparable, adjustments are always to be done to the comparable company's margin, that is to the arm's length margin, and not to the SSEs or the taxpayers' margin. That you please bear it in mind. So alternative argument of A Limited to provide for risk adjustments against the comparable company's margins is not accepted. Then A Limited's argument to apply turnover filter of 1 crore to 200 crore. Because I am only a 50 crore company, you can't compare me with a 2000 crore company or a 20,000 crore company. Compare me only with a maximum turnover limit of 200. That is the argument that has been rejected. And I am in a tax holiday, I am in SCZ, I am claiming tax holiday. There is no motive for me to shift my profits to a US corporation because US is a more aggressive tax jurisdiction. Of course, now the corporate tax rate under the Trump jurisdiction would have come down. We are talking about the past where the litigation is happening. They are very aggressive tax jurisdiction like us. It is not that I am shifting my profits to Singapore, which is 17%, or some other country, Mauritius 3%. We are not shifting. This is with US I have. That argument is also not accepted. AO issued a draft order and that has been objected before DRP. As you know, 144C allows you to object the draft order, and which has to be objected before the DRP. And then DRP has to give its directions in a time-bound manner within 9 months from the end of the month in which you make the objections. So, DRP these days simply they are endorsing the action of TPO because the right of appeal is not there as per the present law to the department to go against the directions given by the DRP. It is only the SSC who has got a scope or right to go for further appeal, but not the department. That is the reason, though you have a very strong case, many a time DRP, which is now centralized in Bangalore for entire south, we have 2 DRPs, 1 and 2, I keep coming here for the arguments. Most of the time they are not appreciating the points, and though they are personally convinced that there is a case for us, case for the SSE, still they endorsed the TPO's action. Most of the cases. So how do we look at this case study? See, what are the arguments you have to defend your claim before the higher forum, appellate forum like ITAT? See, as far as KPO versus BPO, the first case was delivered by the special bench of Mumbai Tribunal in the case of MERS. What they told, you can't make distinction between KPO. This is almost some 7 years, 8 years back. But much water has flown under the bridge, and you need to be more precise economically when you try to pick up a comparable. That way, it would be not economically justified to compare a knowledge process outsourcing company with a BPO. That has been well laid down in various cases. Only I have quoted a few which are recently reported, and by and large most of the benches of the tribunal are in agreement that KPO companies cannot be compared with simple software services or the BPO company. In the same manner, first Delhi High Court gave a judgment in Ignity India Technologies, where they said giant companies cannot be compared with small companies, with pygmies, because their economies are on a different footing. The large company have a brand value, economy of scale, and they have the bargaining power, and they have their own long standing in the market, which will make them which will put them on a different footing, and which will make them earn higher profits, which can't be so easily compared with a small company making 50, 100 crores. So that is later on, even Hyderabad bench in many decisions, they have given their judgment stating that it should not be compared. And one such judgment of the Delhi Tribunal of the recent origin I have just quoted for your ready reference, which says that it is primarily on account of brand value and economy of scale. You can't compare giant companies with the small. Giant companies with their brand value can record higher profits. Then there is one important case law which you need to bear in mind. Philips Software, because as you know, Bangalore is the technology capital of this country, and Bangalore has got the maximum number of TP cases, as we know, and Bangalore has given so much of jurisprudence on this, and Bangalore Tribunal has way back, almost 10 years back in Philips Software, the tribunal decision gave a view that risk adjustment has to be done. And I was telling you that you are a captive service provider without any risk, with the minimum risk or the least possible risk. You can't be compared simply with a market player who is facing all types of risks and who is well established, who has got so brand value, so many other things. When you are trying to do, you must make a risk adjustment. Risk adjustment is not that easily. You can't do the risk adjustment so easily. It is a real statistical or a mathematical challenge. Whatever adjustment you make, that must be substantiated with some basis. Suppose you have a comparable company which is an established company having a margin of 30% and you have only some 15% margin. You want to make an adjustment to that 30%, how they got higher margin on account of what factor is a real challenge. But economically you must make an adjustment, then only it becomes comparable. This is what is originally endorsed by the Bangalore Tribunal in Philips Software, which the department went before the Honorable Karnataka High Court, which case is recently disposed by the present tax bench, which I am just discussing with Chaitanya a little earlier. Philips Software, Karnataka High Court's decision made me bring this case law in this presentation. I'm sorry. That is where they said whatever tribunal, see, because it's a very small judgment what they gave, they were only harping on whether comparables issue is a question of law or a question of fact. They have given a very drastic decision stating that you can't bring any sort of dispute regarding comparables before the High Court they have taken a view that comparables issue is a question of fact and not a question of law. Thereby, depending on the soft brands case, what our Chaitanya argued before the Karnataka High Court, relying on that, they have dismissed some 600 to 700 pending cases which would have been appealed either by the taxpayer or by the revenue. So, in the same spirit, Karnataka High Court dismissed the revenue's appeal in Philips Software, stating that as far as the comparables issue is concerned, we have already taken a view that it is a question of fact and not a question of law. Whatever tribunal decides is final, so we are not going to interfere in that unless there is a perversity in the orders of the tribunal. And then, coming to so many other things like risk adjustment. Risk adjustment is one of the reliefs given by the tribunal, stating that risk adjustment must be made. There also, the Indian company Philips Software is a risk-free enterprise, and the TPO made an adjustment by comparing it with the market players who are facing all risk and also earning rewards. So, Karnataka High Court gave a judgment stating that we are not going to interfere anything decided by the tribunal because it's a question of fact. Thereby, whatever tribunal has decided in that has been endorsed. Thereby, I come back to the point that risk adjustment must be made to make them comparable. Otherwise, you cannot take it as a comparable at all. That is what we can contest in the advent of this judgment that has come from the Karnataka High Court. And as far as turnover filter is concerned, we have got plethora of case law decided across the country by various benches of the tribunal, stating that 1 crore to 200 crore would be appropriate for small companies having turnover of 40, 50, 60, 70 crores. And you can't compare 60 crore company with a 600 crore or 1000 crore company. It should not be more than 10 times. Like that, many benches, most of the cases were decided with the Bangalore bench only. So turnover filter is very key. You can always rely on that. And Vision Infotech is a case which I have argued before the Hyderabad Tribunal, wherein this turnover filter has been upheld. And like that, you have all these cases coming up from various benches of the tribunal, including Hyderabad Tribunal. Then, whether the TP provisions can be applied in a case where the SSE is covered by a tax holiday is a real issue. See, you are an SSE stating that I am in an SEZ. I would be more benefited if I declare a higher profit, but I am not doing it. Whatever profit that is reasonably earned here has been declared, and there is no motive for me to shift my profit when I have a tax holiday here. Why should I shift my profit to US especially, which is also equally aggressive or more aggressive at that time? Why should I shift? Because the whole purpose of transfer pricing is to check that your profits are not being shifted to low tax jurisdictions. Suppose I have a transaction in Singapore where the corporate tax rate is 17%. There is every justification for your apprehension that there could be a manipulation whereby you are shifting the profit. But if it is not there, if I am dealing with a country where the tax rate is equal or more, where is the scope for me to shift profits to avoid tax? The overall tax would be much more if I shift to a higher tax jurisdiction. No group company will do that. So this is the basic argument which has a lot of logic and meaning. But originally in the Aztecs case, special bench, which was decided way back here by the then president of the tribunal, Mr. Vimal Gandhi, along with 4 other members of the tribunal, it's a 5-member special bench, which said there is no necessity for the TPO to demonstrate that there is avoidance of tax to apply TP provisions. So unless there was an argument by the taxpayer that unless it is established by the TPO that there is avoidance of tax, there is shift of profits, you can't apply the TP provision. But a special bench gave a ruling in favor of the revenue, stating that the provisions do not mandate such exercise to be carried out by the TPO as a precursor or as a prerequisite to apply the TP provisions. So,
Sorry, sir.
pardon.
So then what's the purpose of AML having a wholly owned subsidiary in an SEZ? What was the basic thing to start off with? Why did they have that wholly owned? I could have had it anywhere else. Why an SEZ?
No, see, SEZ is a special incentive being provided by the country on the, as per the Commerce Ministry approach. So, when I have some activity in India, I am a US company, I have activity in India, okay, I am carrying out my activity in SEZ to save tax. Of course, MAT is there even on SEZ. There is a breach of trust. They originally said nothing would be levied, then they came back with MAT. Keep MAT aside for a while, the regular tax is not there. So why I should not avail an exemption which is available in that country? See, I am anyhow outsourcing my work from USA. As you know, India gives low cost manpower. The human resource is at a lower cost compared to the other countries. That is the main attraction for anyone to outsource the work to India. That is the reason US company has opened its subsidiary in India to outsource the work and get it done here. When there is an SEZ provision which is given by the tax, they were given by the tax rules as per the tax law, I am putting it in SEZ. So my argument is, okay, I am doing it in SEZ. I always have a tendency to declare more here. In fact, you should check, the US tax authorities must check whether profits of US have been shifted here because there is a tax holiday here. What I am telling is, your point is well taken from the US angle. But coming to the Indian angle, Indian transfer pricing officer should not say, your profit is declared at say 20%, 30% should have been the profit. I will slap another adjustment of another 10%.
So that is possible?
Yes, possible. That is what Aztec told, or many other cases they told. You can't say that TPO has no jurisdiction to go into avoidance provisions in a tax holiday case also. Only one case which is decided in favor of the SSC is Tata Consultancy Services, which is the third bullet. By Dinesh Vyas, a senior advocate, argued before the Mumbai tribunal. There they took a view, we fully agree with this logic, there is no incentive or motivation for the taxpayer to shift profit, so don't apply, it is ridiculous to apply here. But that is not being accepted by most of the time because Aztec has set the trend stating that you need not have to establish avoidance of tax to apply the TP provision. But there is one special bench case which is pending before Ahmedabad tribunal, where we have Mr. Pramod Kumar also. I don't know when it will. Pramod Kumar, as you know, is an accountant member, is a chartered accountant and tribunal member whom I met last week also in Ahmedabad in the conference. Very knowledgeable person and highly solicited across the world as a speaker, and he gives very instructive judgments, and in all the professional forum he is invited as a speaker. He was a speaker at the Bombay Chartered Accountants Society's ITF conference last week as a chairman to chair one session. So there is one case which is pending before the special bench, Doshi Accounting Service, that is the last bullet I have given, because the same issue is pending before the Gujarat High Court. So Ahmedabad bench has kept it pending till the High Court decides. So that is the issue now. And then this is the Aztec software, what it has a rule. You can just go through for your ready reference. I have extracted the whole thing. That is where the question of tax avoidance is not to be established with the following mandatory provision. Therefore, in our opinion, the language used by the legislature is plain and unambiguous, and there is nothing in the language employed by the legislature on the basis of which it can be said that the testing officer must demonstrate the avoidance of tax before invoking these provisions. Then Philips Software went on to say that there is no incentive at all for him to apply the, that is what here you just see from the first, in the instant case, since the SSC was availing the benefit under 10A of the Act, it would be devoid of logic to argue that the SC had manipulated prices to an overseas jurisdiction for the purpose of avoidance of tax in India. So we have for and against judgments, and Tata Consultancy is also in favor of the SSC, which I have extracted. There also they said, further the SC is also correct in contending that no TP adjustment can be made in a case like the present one where the SC enjoys 10A or section 80 HHA of the Act, or where the tax rate in the country of the associated enterprise is higher than the tax rate what we have in this country. So in spite of that, majority benches of the tribunal are against this principle. And now it is pertinent to note that an appeal is pending before the Ahmedabad bench, special bench in the case of Doshi accounting services. So you have anything to say in the case study one? We can, anytime you can interrupt me, don't, it's not like a regular seminar. The whole purpose of workshop is a dialogue. Shall I go to case study 2? See, case study 2, I think I am assuming that you have gone through the facts of the case study. So that is the reason I am not repeating the facts again to save time. This is a very peculiar case where taxpayer is declaring a very high profit. Okay, the arm's length margin of the comparable companies says at 50%, taxpayer is declaring 80%. Because he says I am in a high end, he himself classified as a KPO. This is also a very live case which I have dealt with. It is not a imagination. Okay. See, this particular company, the case, the taxpayer in this case has got a US entity and got an Indian entity to develop the content. They have developed content for the purpose of students appearing for the medical exam, medical entrance exam in USA. That is called USMLE. That is a very famous exam. Even an Indian doctor, if he goes to US, he has to run through that test and get qualified there, otherwise he cannot practice there. So that is the gateway to the medical profession in the USA. So the content is being prepared here and the entire content is posted on the website there, and the US entity is marketing it to various users in US. Okay, so they are declaring a margin as high as 80%, and whereas the comparable companies are only maximum is 50%, and you are getting an average. Here TPO has cleared the assessment very happily because he has nothing to object. It is your profit is higher than the arm's length margin of the market. Then what? Then the AO started creating a problem, assessing officer stating that there is a provision in 10AA or in the erstwhile 10A. Erstwhile 10A it is 10A 7. In the present provisions of S is a 10AA 9, which says if at all there is an arrangement made between the group companies with a view to inflate the tax holiday profits and get a higher benefit, it must be brought down to the market value, or it must be brought down to the comparable level of profit what would have been earned in similar circumstances by a third party. So it is a virtual exercise from the reverse direction. The AO invokes that and says your 80% profit which you are claiming tax holiday under 10AA, I will reduce it to 50 or 55, whatever is the average. So that 25% margin, whatever is the absolute value of that profit which you are declaring under the tax holiday scheme, have to be taxed now. 10AA 9, that is the purpose. See, 10AA 9, if you go into the provisions, it is linked to 80IA 10 and 80IA 8. 80IA is an infrastructure tax holiday, where also that is very clear that you should not claim excess tax holiday if you are not really deserving that as per your activity. It is to check the tendency to shift profits from the regular activity to the tax holiday activity. That is the reason we have the domestic transfer pricing today only with reference to SCZ, because domestic transfer pricing has been truncated now. Originally it was applicable to 48 to everything. Now they have removed everything. Only SCZ transactions get covered now. SCZ in the sense tax holiday. For the sake of simplicity I am telling SCZ, it could be infrastructure, anything, any tax holiday. Inter-unit transfers is covered by 80IA 8 of the same SSC. 80IA 10 connected enterprises. So that principle is linked to this 10AA9. That means if there is any excess claim being made, AO has got an authority to restrict it. But when he will have an authority, only he is able to substantiate that there is an understanding between the group companies or the units to arrive, there is an arrangement, not an understanding, arrangement which would allow you to declare higher tax holiday profit, then only you will be entitled to restrict it. See here, the main question what we need to see is, when once the transfer pricing authority has completed its assessment, which AO has no authority to tinker with it, he has to simply make that, adopt it, that's all. Whether it is accepting what is reported by the SSC or making an adjustment. Both ways, he has to simply adopt. He has no authority to tinker with that. 10AA9, though it is a separate provision, is it not encroaching into the area of the TPO? That means one revenue officer accepts, the other revenue officer objects. It is like a double scrutiny of the same issue, which is canvassed before the courts. Of course, double scrutiny has not been given much weightage, but the weightage given by the courts is, unless the arrangement is established by the assessing officer to say that the tax holiday claim is made at an excessive level, at a higher level, they have no authority to simply disallow tax holiday to a particular portion claim stating that it is excessive. You must establish that there is an arrangement between the associated enterprises which allowed or created the opportunity to declare a higher profit under the tax holiday. That is what is held by Hyderabad Tribunal. I think both the cases have come from Hyderabad Tribunal only. Aquila Software Services is again a Hyderabad case where they said the arrangement could not be established by the AO. Thereby, the AO's action is not legally tenable. He cannot simply disallow tax holiday to portion of the profit claim stating that it is excessive. You just can't do it by invoking 10A7 or 10AA9 unless you establish that there is an arrangement which facilitated declaration of a higher tax holiday. Okay. And also, this is the entire thing talking about that, and the same thing is also covered by Twisman India, that is again by the Chennai bench of the tribunal. These two cases have been solely on this point, which are again relied upon by the Hyderabad case, Cook MD, which again is my own case, which we have dealt in the Hyderabad tribunal again, which has followed the same principle stating that it is not summarily available to an AO to invoke 10AA9 or 10A7 to reject tax holiday for part of the profit stating that it is excessive unless an arrangement is proved. That is the most important thing. So it would be very difficult for the tax officer to prove, especially because he cannot say that, again it requires economic analysis. You cannot say in a very broad way as how an assessing officer does it can be done. Economic analysis who can do? It is only the transfer pricing officer who will do. Transfer pricing officer anyhow is so happy, your margin is higher than the arm's length margin. There is no bar or no embargo not to have a higher margin than the arm's length margin. So that way most of the cases are decided. This is, I don't know whether there is any such case in Bangalore. There would have been some case. To my knowledge, to my research, these are the things picked up from the Hyderabad tribunal only. And this is a very reverse case which I thought I should bring it to your knowledge. This is, under SSC being a KPO, is being denied the tax holiday benefit and being slapped with an adjustment is what is a very surprising thing. You can always stop me for whatever we have discussed till now and any issues. It should not be a monologue, it should be a dialogue. Okay. Then can some of you can throw some light on case study 3. It is not that I would just go ahead discussing case study 3. Case study 3 is very, very interesting case study. As you have seen the facts, the IP is sold at the development stage to its Netherlands aid. This is also a very live issue. All the 4 cases are live issues, they are not imaginary issues. Live issues which have been argued before the tribunal. And in fact, even this case is also a very, very interesting case. This has some impact from the BEPS Action Plan 8 also. You would have heard about BEPS Action Plans 8 to 10 on the transfer pricing. So, which are being slowly, incorporated by each and every country, and India is a front runner in that. As you know, CBCR and master file, country by country reporting and master file, which as per Action Plan 13 have already been brought into the Indian statute, as you know. So here, an intangible has been sold at the development stage to its associated enterprise in Netherlands. And they have completed that IP, that is the intangible, that's a software product, which they have completed. That means the balance is completed and the product is finalized, and then they started exploiting it. The tax officer, the TPO, took a view. The company that has sold this at the development stage is the parent company sitting in India, and the Netherlands company is only a subsidiary. Though they have completed that product and then started exploiting, they still, the TPO was of the firm view that this profit should come to India only, whatever exploited, whatever revenue that is generated out of exploiting the software product, the entire revenue should not be taxed in Netherlands. Some portion, majority portion should come to India. When this would be accepted, if you go into the methodologies under the transfer pricing, what are the methodologies you have? You have comparable uncontrolled price method, you have cost plus method, you have resale price method, TNM, transaction net margin, and profit split method. Profit split method is a very critical and which has a lot of future now, because the BEPS action plans are also focusing on the profit split method. Profit split method traditionally is to be applied only when you don't have comparables and it's a transaction involving unique intangibles, then the activity of the group entities is intertwined, then you need to apply the profit split method. That means you will arrive at what portion is to be received by each entity in that group who are involved in that. So here in this case, though this IP is sold on an absolute basis to the Netherlands company, TPO took a view that still the Indian company must have its share of profits which should be taxed here. Is it justified? Because originally the Netherlands company is never a party to a joint effort for developing this product. This product was developed to a particular extent. When it was thought this product would have more future in Europe to start with, it has been sold at the development stage to the European, that is the Netherlands company. Netherlands company has put in the balance efforts and has completed finalizing prepared the software product and then started exploiting it in the European market. Then in what way India should get a share? Is it justified economically? Unless both are involved. See, India has sold it at an absolute, it has sold it at the market value. There are two valuation reports that have been taken by the Indian company to arrive at the arm's length price for the IP to be sold at the development stage. It has taken, suppose two valuers have given applying DCF method by one, that is discounted cash flow method by one valuer, and the other valuer has applied another accepted method, and they arrived at a different prices. So the average price has come to around 5 crores or 5.5 crores. The average price is adopted as the arm's length price by the Indian company to receive the remuneration or the sale consideration for the IP sold. So then what TPO has done, he has objected on two fronts. One is, he says the very sale price is not at arm's length. Then he made an adjustment. So what he has done, he has tinkered with the valuation report prepared by an expert adopting DCF method. What do you do in DCF method? Anyone has any idea? DCF method is projections. You take a particular IP, you have the projections, how you are likely to earn revenues on this particular IP. So it is a projection based valuation. See, what TPO is doing, see, I prepared my return this year and I filed my return on the basis of the valuation report and received the sale consideration from the AE. 3 years down the line or 2 years down the line, when it has gone before the TPO for scrutiny, TPO is trying to replace the projections with the actuals. Are you permitted to do that? See, because in that particular year, in that particular case, the projections are high, the actuals are higher than projections, so he arrived at a higher value, sale value. So there could be a situation where the actuals would have come down, then the value will come down. In tally solutions, I think in tally solutions only, that is what I have given, that is Bangalore bench only told, neither the SSC nor the revenue, they have no authority to tinker with the valuation report. Then there is no sanctity to the valuation report. See, you try to tinker with that 3 years down the line, replace it with the actuals. In the case of projection, you give projections for 8 years, 10 years and arrive at the valuation. You can't replace. Just because it is favorable to you, you replace. If it is favorable to me, I will replace. Do you allow me? That is not possible. That's what they told in tally solutions. That is what is canvassed before the Hyderabad bench in DQ Entertainment International. And we have argued in that case, and still this is not possible, it is not internationally accepted. You can't replace projections with actuals. It can work either way. You can't go by your convenience. I go by my convenience, you go by your convenience. That is not the practice, commercial practice, or that is not the accepted practice. So that has been rejected, stating that you can't tinker with the valuation reports. Then the tribunal gave a view that the valuations are correct and there is no case for you to make anything. What he has done, he has increased the sale value from 5 crores to 12 crores and made an adjustment of 7 crores. Having done that, again he is coming to the revenue generated by that IP in Netherlands, stating that even in this revenue, the Indian company must have a share of 80%. How is it possible? See, your stand itself is contradicting. See, in the first place you are creating a dispute on the sale value and making an adjustment. When you are making an adjustment, you yourself you are agreeing that it is absolutely sold. When you are agreeing for sale, where is the question of again sharing the revenue by both the buyer and seller? I am no more an owner of that. You should only do one of the two. You can't do both. There itself, the case of the revenue got weakened. And the tribunal said, even on the attribution of profits of 80% to the Indian company is wrong because the entire software is sold at the development stage. And there is no international transaction at all now. Having sold, what transaction I have? I don't have. You are not able to prove that it is a cost contribution arrangement. What is a cost contribution arrangement? suppose the software product has to be prepared with, has to be developed with a lot of expenditure. Then 3-4 group entities, all of them come together and they develop it. Even drug discovery, clinical trials and pharma company, they come together, group company, and they develop a particular formula, a generic or a formulation, what you say, formulation. So it is not of that case. So then when you have absolutely sold and when you are disputing the very sale price and making an adjustment there, how can you come again and say, I will again apportion the profits between the two? So these two pleas have been rejected by the Hyderabad bench, stating that both the adjustments are wrong. DQ Entertainment International Limited. And very interesting, attribution of profits generated by one AE to the other AE is accepted when both companies continue as joint owners of an IP. There is a concept called legal owner and economic owner. See what happens, the IP may be owned only by one of the group entities, that is possible. All the four, suppose 4 group entities are developing a particular IP, all the 4 need not be the legal owners. The other 3 will be economic owners because they will be funding to have their own share. Legal ownership can be in one name, but even then the other 3 would be legally entitled to share the revenues that could be generated after the IP is produced. But this is not a case of that nature. That is what has been appreciated by the Hyderabad tribe.
So in this case, it was in whose favor? The SS's favor?
Pardon?
In this case,
Ah.
case number 3.
DQ Entertainment.
Yeah, it went to whose favor actually?
In favor of the SSC. That is the Indian company which sold the IP to the Netherlands company. Netherlands company that was sold at the development stage, at the half stage, the balance they have completed and they started exploiting it. That is their revenue. We have no say, we have no right to receive any share from that because they have paid the absolute value of sale consideration and it became their property. But TPO went on to say that property you still have a right to share the profits, which is wrong. They said the sale value adjustment is wrong because you try to replace the projections with actuals.
That the TPO did.
Yes, TPO did. TPO did. Both the adjustments are done by TPO.
And that's why 80% of that 15 crores had to be attributed to the
Indian company.
Yeah, that also is wrong.
TPO. That also is TPO. That also has been rejected. See, on both fronts, SSC got the favorable decision, and this is in the case of DQ Entertainment International Limited, okay, which we have argued. And then coming to here, you need to be on a careful note. This may not be the scenario in future because there could be issues, there could be cases which are genuine where you have really shifted lock, stock and barrel stating that we have no lien on that and we have no share in that. But now the OECD TP guidelines, transfer pricing guidelines have also been changed, and the action plans, BEPS action plans which I told, are only harping on this because the transfer pricing is one of the most vital areas where they wanted to bring in all the tax avoidance rules. What is the BEPS action plans? It is nothing but tax avoidance rules being brought at the international level to change the existing international tax rules. As how you have a car, you have 94B, thin capitalization and all that. This is all the rules to rewrite the international taxation rules. Because large corporations like Google, Yahoo, Starbucks would have hardly, Apple would have hardly paid 1 or 2% as their tax revenue, their total revenue, with best of the brains working and structuring the whole across the world. So, and more so in the advent of digital economy. Today, Google doesn't require its physical presence here at all, but it can make a huge revenue. Mind-boggling revenues can be made by Google. The day starts with Google, the day ends with Google. The taxi driver brings me from airport to here. He doesn't know this building. He puts in a Google map and he reaches here. And Google has so many other apps which are so convenient to you and which have become part and parcel of your daily life. So they don't need to open a shop here. Of course, Google India is there in Hyderabad also. That is for a different purpose. But for so many activities, they don't need a physical presence here. So that creates a lot of challenge now for the tax authority. Where to tax this enterprise? On what basis you are going to tax? The old tax rule says you must have a permanent establishment here to get taxed. Now I don't require a permanent, it's only a virtual presence. Then virtual presence is not covered by the old rules. Then how do you cover it? That is the first action plan of the BEPS. Challenges of digital economy. That is also a challenge before the indirect tax authorities, because indirect tax is a transaction tax which is levied on the basis of the location where it is transacted. Now you don't know the location, it is done in the cyberspace. Which country has a right to collect? That is the biggest challenge in it. And digital economy, that is one action plan which has not been concluded out of the 15 because the big brother said, nothing doing, you wait. Big brother is the US. US has got a large say because all its giant companies produce mind-boggling revenues. They don't want those revenues to be taxed all over the world. US wants their corporations to pay taxes only in their country, not elsewhere. You make country across the world, you make profit across the world, but pay taxes only in the US. Probably that is their approach.
So
That
most
is.
of the companies in the US are not paying any tax.
Pardon?
I said most of the giants in the US
That is true, but they want the companies now, they participated in the BEPS plan. They participated in the BEPS plan, but they didn't sign the MLA. Multilateral instrument, which is incorporating all the action plan, they didn't sign. That is a major setback to the initiative. They said we have all the anti-avoidance provisions in our domestic law itself. They know that their corporations were avoiding tax in their country also. Because they are putting up in British Virgin Islands, so many other tax havens they are opening and all that. And now the information exchange is going to be mind-boggling in the future. So once information is exchanged in the real-time basis, then probably the tax revenues would go for each country. So be that as it may, BEPS Action Plan 8 focuses on similar issue and says if you have deliberately pushed your IP only to avoid taxation here, we will not accept. That would be whatever share. Suppose you don't, the person who is taking over that, he has no role in that. Suppose Netherlands company could not demonstrate that it has really added value in completing the software product. Then it is just a make-believe transaction, shifting it to that jurisdiction. In fact, the case, I didn't put Netherlands, but it is Ireland. Ireland has got a more tax-friendly regime for IP. Okay, you go into this DQ Entertainment International, which is argued by me, which is available in the website and in all the tax portals. So there is an immediate inference that there is a tax evasion. You are trying to push the IP so that the IP is taxed at a lesser tax rate. They have a tax-friendly tax rate of 11% in Ireland. But here, actually they developed there. The balance portion is developed there and they started exploiting only in Europe. To start with, in the original 3-4 years, the year which is under scrutiny in that particular case. So here, but the OECD BEPS Action Plan 8 needs to be borne in mind, and you need to be very careful because in future, because even the OECD transfer pricing guidelines of 2017 have already adopted the suggestions made by the action plan, and there is a total revision of the OECD transfer pricing guideline. So in such a similar situation, it is not that easy for the company who originally prepared the IP and who is shifting it to another AE, stating that it is an absolute sale. I am very clear on that. Because this is a case of the old years and got through. And of course this is contested by the revenue in the High Court. Now it's before the High Court. But be that as it may, we need to be really keeping track of what is happening in the intangibles level in the transfer pricing front. So that way you must be aware, and I have given the paragraph numbers also in the OECD TP guidelines 2017, which you can download freely from the OECD website, and you can go through the guidelines given, which are totally contrary to what is decided in the case. So I am giving both sides of the issue. Any questions? See, my idea is not to throw bouncers. My idea is to make you bat the bowling. So, if it's a monologue, then it doesn't serve the purpose of a workshop. So, I want you to rise it. Don't hesitate. You have any issue, raise it. That's all. You discuss. That is what is my sincere suggestion.
Sir, is there any place where we can pick our comparables?
Pardon?
Comparable selection, where we can go and...
We have two databases, no? Prowess is one database.
But it's chargeable.
No, they all are chargeable. Transfer pricing itself is So, anyhow, institute made some concessional arrangement with the capital markets people for some time. I don't know whether it's still alive or not, because I am part of the International Taxation Committee for several years. That was originally given some at 8,000, 10,000 rupees a year. Otherwise, each software is now, capital markets is costing, if you want to have it for yourself, it is 70,000 rupees with taxes and all that. And this is 150, Prowess, which is developed by Center for Monitoring Indian Economy. They have around 14,000 to 15,000 companies databases there. You can pick up, you can make a search giving filters and try to pick up most appropriate comparable for your SSC, for your client. So these are two. There are some more that are coming up in the future. We will see. We will wait and see. So any other ideas, thoughts? Yes, please.
See, being CS and professional,
Pardon?
we have a code of being CS, practicing CS, we have a code of conduct. By wrong representing things, you are losing your business. Okay, at the same time, by wrong reporting, you have a different code of conduct, penalties and everything. In a similar way, in assisting officers, by wrongly representing their case, so many cases are pending in the court, and unnecessary arguments, unnecessary time of waste of time and everything is happening. Whether they should not have any code of conduct.
And what you mean to say, the reference to the TPO is unnecessary.
Yeah, no, it's not. I'm not saying so. By wrong representing, say for example this pricing mechanism, once already is already proved by the value, so I get you argue on that.
No, you are right. See, many a time there was always an argument that testing officer should not routinely make a reference to the TPO every case.
Yeah.
But actually that was decided by the court, stating that the earlier instruction from the board said that if the value of international transactions is more than 15 crore, that is pre-March 2016, everything has to be referred. There is no choice for him. Now also, the instructions of March 2016 parameters for TP scrutiny are, the testing officer has no authority to do any TP case on his own. Earlier, if at all it is not referred, AOs has to put their mind into the TP issues of when now they have no right. If it is not referred as per the revised parameters, they have to complete the assessment, making a mention that the TP issues are not looked into by me. I have not investigated or scrutinized any that he has to make observation in the assessment order. If at all the parameters are now the 15 lakh, that the 15 lakh parameter has gone, 15 crore parameter has gone. So there are other parameters, like if there is any litigation pending, some issue, every year there is some litigation happening, those cases, like that there are 5-6 parameters that are given. Only when those parameters are fulfilled, then can be referred to TPO. Now what you are telling is, everything and anything is not being referred now. From last 2 years especially, nothing is being referred in a routine manner. Many cases have gone out of the TP scrutiny now. That's a welcome proposition. They are trying to make ABC analysis. As you know, ABC analysis in costing, you focus on the high value items and highly complicated issues. They are not going into, if there is 50 crore, 5 crore, 10 crore, nothing, they are not going into that. Okay, so shall we come to case study 4 or any more points? Case study?
Yeah. Yeah.
Please.
Searching the comparables,
Yes.
there is filtration process, right?
Yes.
But suppose taking software sector, for taking software sector companies, is there any process that we have to take percentage of employees cost as mandatory fields like that?
And what you are talking about the filters.
Yeah, filters.
See, filters are very, very important.
Yeah.
Very, very important depending on the line of activity of your taxpayer. Let us take only this IT years. In days, the most important thing is the employee cost. Employee cost, see, as you all know, the IT sector and ITES sector has pampered human resource like anything. They give huge salaries, they create a lot of incentives because it is all, they have to, it's a brain related work they do and that produces a lot of revenues. So, employee cost is always the major cost in any IT or ITES company. If at all the comparable picked up by the TPO, suppose the majority cost means 60-70% of the cost must be the human resource cost. Suppose he has picked up a company with only 30% cost, that means it is not an IT company in full manner, in full shape. There is some other activity that is happening there. That company cannot be compared with you. What activity they are doing, you have to look into that. That is basic filter for ITES. Then you are doing, obviously this is all international transaction, means export. Suppose there is a company doing only domestic work in exports and domestic work in software, not exports. Can you pick up that company? No. That is also not matching with your profile. Suppose you have 100% exports, you are a captive service provider. You do everything to your AE outside. Suppose the comparable picked up by the TPO is into exports, he is into software, but not into exports. Or their exports is just 10% of their total revenue, or 20%, whereas your exports are 100%. That also is not allowed. So there we give an export revenue filter. Export revenue filter, minimum 70% of the revenue or 75% of the revenue must be into exports, otherwise you can't. Then whether you are into software products or software service. Software product, Infosys may have software products. I am a simple software service provider. My services fetch little revenue, products will fetch higher revenue. As you know, Infosys has got banking solutions, they give to various banks, they are doing solutions even for GST. So that products fetch a higher revenue. So product versus services. Like this you have to give. Related party. See, I am doing 100% to my related party. I want a comparable to be having related party transactions at the minimum. For which, what is the threshold? Generally the tribunals have accepted 15%. Originally they were accepting 25%. Now they say more than 15% should not be accepted. If the comparable company is also having related party transactions more than 15%, they are having 50%, it is not fit to be a comparable. So all this must be applied. Same way, any intangible, that is all the more very important. Any intangibles you have, that you can know from the annual report. You don't have any intangible. You are being compared with some companies having intangibles. No, it is not possible. Suppose a particular company has been merged with another company during the year, by virtue of which the profit has gone up or something like that. That is an extraordinary event which cannot be compared with a normal company which is into normal activity. So these filters are very, very critical. Unless you select the correct filters, you will not arrive at the right set of comparables. Either yourself or the TPO. So you cannot make any cherry picking, stating that because this is of a lower profit I will pick up so that my arm's length margin will go down and I will get benchmark. No. Same way, even TPO cannot pick up very high profit company just to take the margin up. So both are not acceptable anyhow. Now we have a range concept which has come. Originally it was only an arithmetic mean. Now you have a range concept. More than 6 comparables. You go by the range. Range will eliminate all this skewing. That is just because you have one comparable with 50%. the margin goes up like anything. Just because you have two comparables with loss or very little profit, it comes down. This queen will go down and you will have a better represented comparables available from ultimates. Range concept has been already brought in from last 2 years, which you can go through.
Just one
Please.
more question.
Please.
So, see, the way a lot of industry works today, there is a lot of, I would say, need for engagement with service providers or product providers, etc., overseas as well. So, software licenses or there are certain services which are provided by overseas. It could be a completely third-party kind of a transaction, but you buy goods and services from foreign service providers or foreign product, where the entire structure of costs, etc., is very different if you buy something from abroad versus similar things from here. And to give a simple example, say if you take networking equipment, you have a Cisco which is has got a particular pricing structure. You could have a local fellow who can have a different one.
Correct.
So this would also result in a lot of difference. Similarly, you could engage services of consultants, etc., from abroad who are subject matter experts or thought leaders, etc. So all this would also impact. So therefore, when you say filters and comparison, it would it is virtually impossible to replicate or to have a perfect reference. You have to look by or go by each case.
Exactly.
So isn't somewhere this comparables and all, isn't that actually something which is infectious from a real business? Because I don't know if the officials really seem to understand or appreciate this perspective. They have a very myopic, with due respect to them, they have a very myopic perspective, and that negatively impact makes ease of doing business, etc., which are terminologies which are touted. They really don't exist in reality the way people operate, and I don't know whether our institute is really engaging adequately with the officials to make them understand this perspective.
No, actually, I'll tell you what your point is. In some of the unique situations, comparables are very difficult. That is your point. Well taken, more so in engineering.
And more so large, small service providers is not.
I agree.
But what really gets publicized or reported is with large organizations.
Correct.
And we are actually defeating the. You want everyone to come to India, invest in India, create employment, and all these are actually
That is the reason. That is the reason.
Which
They have brought in advanced pricing arrangements, which is a very welcome concept in India, which is there in other parts of the world also. And that has been a very successful effort from the revenue authorities. To that extent, we should give them all the credit, because one Mr. Kamlesh Varshini was the first CIT who canvassed this advanced pricing agreement, because that is where you give a lot of material explaining what is your activity and how it is different from other things. And that is where, like, both the sides sitting on the table, trying to arrive at the most appropriate margins for that particular activity. It is not like that, as you say, comparing the huge complex activity, high-end activity, with something which is not comparable at all. So all that is being avoided through advanced pricing arrangement, which will go for 5 years to come, provided the same facts continue. Some of our clients have gone for APA, especially when people are coming into India. If they want to avoid the TP litigation, they are going into that, and they are not accepting for whatever margin these revenue authorities are. They are being convinced and coming to at the most 1% that way, this way. It cannot be more than 4%, 3%. That variation is not there. That is one welcome proposition. I do agree the basic methods cannot address each and every situation. You cannot get an exact apple to apple, orange to orange. It is very difficult. In the real life situations, it is very difficult, more so for the multinationals, more so for the large corporations, where the issues are highly complicated, especially with reference to the intangibles. Now the whole transfer pricing in future is going to be on intangibles, and they will focus only on that. That is what the action plan 8 to 10. So where value is being created cannot be disaligned with where revenue is being generated. They are trying to, the large corporations are also doing their aggressive planning in such a way the value is created somewhere else and the revenue is generated somewhere else to get the tax benefits. So all that must get aligned now, and let us hope that these action plans which have been brought in would serve a meaningful purpose, trying to address the issues in the most appropriate.
Is that realistically possible? You know,
Pardon?
Is that realistically possible?
No, possible means that is what. See,
let me just explain. So you take many of the large software companies. I'm not an IT person. I'm just more brick and mortar.
No, I understand.
See, large corporations, they're increasingly using India to do a lot of development work.
Correct.
So whether you take, Google or Microsoft or an Apple or whoever, a lot of all these days do that.
Cost savings.
So it is basically, they have, one is cost, the other is even availability of resources. In the US or many other geographies, you don't have that kind of resource pool available. So if they're doing this in India and development is happening, how can one attribute a value? When you say intangibles, I'm talking of this in the context of intangibles. How can you attribute a particular value creation in India vis-a-vis what is happening elsewhere? Because it is not a single person's effort, it's teamwork. And I think all of us are aware that even in a gradation of the level of work, a lot of these companies do actually much lower level work in India. Now, right, wrong, I don't know. I'm just saying what is generally professed. So if this is the background, how can one really attribute a value to that intangible? That again, that's not an easy decision by entering into disputes or arguments with the. I'm not saying one should not do not get the right level of revenue for the country, but at the same time, it's very difficult unless the entire life cycle of whatever is happening in India. So when it is piecemeal, it's just not possible.
As you rightly say, we will have to look at the whole value chain. See, if at all it is outsourced for a limited purpose of cost saving and human resources being available here, and when you don't have the entire ownership of IP with you, and the entire risk and reward is being borne by the foreign enterprise, and you have other stakeholders in the entire process, you can't say just because it is developed in India, you have the entire attribution here. I do agree, the Indian tax authorities are capable of coming to any sort of conclusion and stating that they need not be attributed anything, the entire 80% must be attributed. These are all very, these would not, stand the test of scrutiny ultimately, but the client or the SSE is put a lot of agony, as you rightly say, he has to run the whole rigmarole. I do agree, but let us hope that in the years to come, some sort of graduation is coming up, because that is the reason they said the parameters itself have been streamlined and said you can't pick up everything for scrutiny. They said these parameters must be satisfied, then only you can pick up. See, thereby if you can look at the statistics now, if 100 cases were going for TP scrutiny in the past, now hardly some 15 to 20 are going now. So that's a good welcome proposition. And one more thing is, this OECD web sanction plans and the revised TP guideline is only harping on intangibles and also profit split method. You are telling about a case where you cannot easily get comparable, and it's a very complex engineering product or whatever it is. Then it needs to be benchmarked under the transactional profit split method. Profit split method, I can't spend more time because for want of time. Profit split method is to be applied only in cases where you don't have comparables. See, what are the economic principles you rely on to benchmark is very interesting. So that is what is being discussed now at high level in most of the advanced transfer pricing conferences. We always have one conference happening in Mumbai every year in the first week of December, being conducted by Foundation of International Taxation. I participate, and I am fortunate to be a speaker last year also. This year also I am invited to speak on the same profit split method as one of the panelists. It is always a panel discussion. Whether the profit split method is going to replace the arm's length principle is the discussion. As you say, arm's length principle is the bedrock principle on which we are based now on the transfer pricing methodologies and all. See, arm's length principle is a very tricky issue. You always look for a comparable, and try to benchmark here, not being bothered about the other party who is outside. The same arm's length principle, if it is applied by this revenue authority of that country also, and he slaps an adjustment, then where the SSC will go? The overall profit earned is only $100 by both the parties or by 3 or 4 parties in the group. You are trying to overall making an adjustment which is resulting in a profit of $150. That $50 is in thin air, it is not really earned. What is earned from a third party is only $100. That is what Global Vantage, the Delhi Tribunal, held long back and some 7 years back, stating that the overall group profits must be considered in arriving at your. That is the concept we have under Article 9(2) of the Model Convention. Suppose you make an adjustment here, reduce that from the other person who is reporting it there. Suppose parent is reporting $60, $70 as a profit, and I am a captive service provider in India reporting only $30. Suppose the TPO makes 30 as 40, this 10 must be reduced there. You must immediately make a corresponding adjustment, otherwise this $10 is getting taxed in both the jurisdictions. You increase my profit from 30 to 40, you are not reducing 70 to 60. That means this $10 is getting taxed in both the jurisdictions. This is called the economic double taxation.
But definitely TPO may not...
Exactly. That is for what we have an article in all the treaties, Article 9(2), that is corresponding adjustment. So it must be moved through the competent authorities, and it's a long drawn process. I am not denying that, but there is a facility to provide that, which now India has categorically agreed that it would accept this corresponding adjustment, though 9(2) is not there in some of the treaties. In some of the treaties, 9 subclause 2 is not there. This is called corresponding adjustment, which is also being addressed by the transfer pricing guidelines of the 2017. So that is the reason, ultimately what is happening, what is the overall profit, how you apportion. This becomes a global formulary approach, not the arm's length principle. In fact, US follows among various states also. What a state to state transfer pricing is there in US. There they follow global formulary approach, not the arm's length principle. Global formulary approach is you take what is the overall profit, divide it among the group entities, then there ends the matter. But originally, the Western countries and the developed world, they wanted arm's length principle to ensure that they get more revenues for taxation. This is a thing done with a vested interest. Okay, now arm's length principle itself is under scanner now. Of course, the BEPS action plans have endorsed that they are still going with the arm's length principle for the present, but the trend is towards the global formulary approach. Thereby, you are not charging even $1 or ₹1 more than what is really earned. That needs to be divided among all the group entities as per their functions, assets and risks. That is what the discussion we are going to have in December, whether profit split method is nothing but it's going to bring in the concept of formulary approach in place of the arm's length principle. So this is very interesting times ahead, and let us quickly come to the last case study which we can summarize and finalize, because you are all feeling hungry. Since morning you have been having the pressure of transfer pricing. So I think today is the first day of the workshop, I think. And here we can quickly run through this. Software services rendered by C Limited to D Limited and unrelated customers. See, the C Limited is rendering software services to its AE who is in Europe and also to unrelated parties. Sizable turnover is there with the unrelated parties also. That means you have what? Internal comparables. I was talking about cases where it is a captive service provider. That means you are serving only your parent, no one else. Then the comparison becomes very difficult. You don't have any comparables in your own organization. Here we have. Suppose 40% of the turnover is with unrelated parties in Europe. 60% I am rendering my service to a related party. Then should I not be allowed to apply cost plus method? Because in software services you can't apply cup. Cup must have 100% similarity. 100% similarity is very difficult. Cup is a very difficult thing. So in software services especially, you can't go by cup. In products you can go by cup provided both the products are 100% identical. Services there is bound to be some difference from one service to the other. And more so if you go into rule B, then B, C and C. What is cost plus method? For services, it is advised that cost plus method can be. What is cost plus method? Cup is price comparison. That means product and what is the price. Whereas this is not, the product similarity is not required. Functional similarity is required. Suppose, what is functional similarity? You are a fast moving consumer goods dealer. You sell a TV and you also sell a washing machine. You also sell some other consumer product. So all these consumer products have the same functions to be carried out economically by the distributor to sell these things. So the economic theory says though the prices are different for a TV to washing machine, they are more or less producing the same gross margin ratio. It could be 10% or 15%. The ratio is the same. That is the reason cost plus method and resale price method are not price comparison methods but are functional comparable methods. Thereby the gross margins are compared. So especially in software, because it is a service sector, you have to apply CPM and not the cup. Then always you see transfer pricing officers would jump and apply TNMM. Though I have internal comparables to the tune of 40% turnover or 35% turnover, they will simply reject it and go to an outside. Why should I go? The internal comparables are most authentic. I have all the data with me. I can produce and canvas and give you all the data as to what I have done with this transaction, what I have done with the other transaction. So you must allow me to apply internal comparables, which was originally accepted by in the Birla Soft case at the Mumbai Tribunal, and internal comparables are more authentic. Anyhow, now OECD is not. They used to originally insist that internal comparables are authentic, but now they say internal comparables are good. If you have, you take, but they are kept on par with the external comparables. Be that as it may, if you have internal comparables, you cannot be deprived of using those comparables for applying CPM method. Suppose the cost base is totally different. The service what you render here and service what you render there is lot of gap or lot of difference in that, then probably you can't do that. Otherwise, if they are broadly comparable, you can definitely have comparison on the CPM method, not on the cup method. And you need not be forced to apply the transaction net margin. In fact, you can do internal TNMM also. You prepare two verticals, that is 40% turnover, one profit and loss account, 60% one profit and loss account. But only thing is that profit and loss account must be certified by the auditors, then it will be allowed. We have experimented that and it was accepted in one case, 4 years back. You bring it to the net margin level. Net margins you compare. If they are comparable and if you are able to demonstrate that what you are earning with the AE is not less, if not more, that is good enough. So thereby, mostly this cost plus method or the internal TNMM you can use, and which here as usual the TPO rejected and applied TNMM, which is wrong. And there is also one more issue. Of course, the CPM method cannot be easily applied unless the cost base details are very accurate. Because CPM can be applied mostly only with internal comparables. Because this is a gross margin comparison, the database reports only net margin of the companies as per the ROC records. You cannot get gross margins of various companies in the database. Thereby, this is possible only with internal comparables. But where the cost bases drastically differ, then you cannot make a compare. That is what is given in the case law which I have given here. There is one case law where they said you can simply apply cost plus if the cost bases are not identical. And then there is also one more issue in this case study. Delimited sold a website, social media website. This is a live issue. As far as this website is a live issue. And CPM is also a live issue in the other. I have merged two issues into one case study. Website purchased by the Indian company. That website was ranked as 5th popular social media website, which is nothing but Bharat Matrimony, that also mentioned. It was purchased by my client social media, and the transfer pricing officer said, I will assign nil value because you have purchased it from your AE in Europe. How can you assign nil? See, the transfer pricing authorities are mandated to apply methodologies and arrive at the arm's length price. You have no authority to simply adopt nil against the price given by me. You prove that I am wrong, prove that you are right, apply the correct price. You have no authority to simply come to a conclusion stating that this particular expenditure incurred by you is not required. This value what you have paid is nil. All these things are not allowed. EKL appliances, Delhi High Court very clearly told, you have no authority to sit in the shoes of a businessman and decide that this expenditure is not required. Who are you to say that? You can't say that. Your authority is only to compare and see whether this expenditure is at arm's length or not. And this social website was ranked as 5th popular, that you are ignoring. That website created revenue in the hands of seller before he sold it to this company in India, that you are ignoring. Yet even the Indian company started earning revenue subsequent, that you started ignoring. You simply come to a conclusion that the value is nil, is not accepted. Social Media India Limited is one of the case law which relied on Delhi High Court judgment on EKL appliances. See, you can't sit in the shoes of the businessman and decide the expenditure is not warranted. More so in such cases where it was demonstrated that benefits have accrued to the SSE on account of purchase of the website. So these are the two issues I have combined in this case study, and CPM is one very interesting methodology which could come to your help when you have internal comparables. In fact, that case study I didn't bring because it's a manufacturing unit, because I am assigned only IT. There is one case law which you can go through, Alumico India Extrusion Limited. I don't have the citation readily. It is also a case which I have argued before the tribunal. All the 5 years we have won for the application of cost plus methodology. I'll just brief that case in 2 minutes. It is an aluminium extrusions they have prepared. That means aluminium profiles. They get ingots, billets from Europe, and they prepare aluminium extrusions profiles, and then they again sell it to the AE. And we have applied cost plus method because it's a long-term buy and sell arrangement. You are allowed to apply cost plus method. And in fact, the company was a BAFR company, loss-making company. And if I go to the net margin level, I am at loss. But at gross margin level, I have a sizable unrelated party transactions also with me. I have 65% sold to AE, 35% I have domestic sales also on the same profiles. And in fact, tribunal went to the extent of accepting the domestic sales also because the profile is the same, and we could make the proper adjustments. And they said cost plus method is the most appropriate, and the transfer pricing officer has no mandate to ignore the appropriate method and go to the DNMM, compare this loss-making company with well-established profit-making company and slap an adjustment. In the 6 years we have won this case, and this has gone to High Court. High Court also has dismissed the appeal filed with the revenue. So thereby cost plus method is very interesting. That can be applied even in software sector also, provided you have sizable unrelated party transactions, preferably in the same market where you are rendering services to your AE, or the continent, which can be taken as a market, general market, European market. Your AE may be in Netherlands, the other customers may be in the adjoining country. That is accepted with the proper analysis. So that way CPM becomes more appropriate. Anyhow friends, I thought I would take you through this. I have overshot by 10 minutes or so, and I'm very happy to be here this morning to share some of my thoughts and some of my practical experiences on this case studies, because this is supposed to be a case study driven workshop and not a basic theory course. So I'm happy to be here this morning to share my thoughts and take your feedback. And in the lighter vein, when we talk about the transportation officers making adjustments or even the SC officers making adjustment, let me end with a small anecdote to lighten the pressure what you have before going for lunch. There is because many a time even the associated enterprise, what we have discussed in the morning, probably I think Chaitanya would have taken with you, with so many dealing fictions what we have. 92A1 and A2. 2 talks about if you have 90% purchase of the raw material, you are AE. If you have sales, we do not know whether it is 100% sale or more than 50% sale, then it's a AE. There need not be any equity investment. So it is largely driven by, tax law is largely driven by deeming fiction, to make the life of the tax gatherer easy and to make the life of the taxpayer miserable. So deeming fictions we have even in cases like, even in sections like section 68, 69, cash credit, it's all a deeming fiction. So a person lived a very ethical and a very righteous life. He helped everyone and he led a very noble life, and he also paid taxes honestly, except making legitimate tax planning for deeming fictions. And he ended his journey on the planet Earth and traveled to heaven with a great hope that he would be the most eligible entrant. Then he was stopped and he was denied entry. And to his surprise, he wanted to find out why he is denied entry when he is so eligible, and he led a very righteous and rightful life and not otherwise. Then he told that there is a deeming fiction even in heaven. What they told, if at all you are a taxpayer under the Indian income tax law, you are a deemed sinner and you have no entry into the heaven. Thank you, friends. Anyhow, I am happy to be here this morning to share some of my facts, and thank you for your attention.
Friends, we had a detailed presentation on case studies of IT and ITES cases. Speaker made it very interesting during explaining the live case studies. We really enjoyed that, sir, and enriched our knowledge. Thank you very much, sir. Please thank the speaker with a great round of applause. It's time to present a memento. May I request C. Ajay to come forward and present it to speaker as a token of appreciation and gratitude. Ladies and gentlemen, please thank the speaker again. Thank you, C. Ajay. Friends, let us break for lunch and I will reassemble by 2:15 for our next technical session.